Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
Hello, groovers on the dance floor of the future. We have got a lot for you to shake your virtual tail feathers at today. Welcome to Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be checking out what sort of black magic AI is bringing to the tattoo industry. We'll see how some tech boffins at Penn State University are rewriting physics textbooks to shake up the solar cell industry. And we're unveiling the mystery of the disappearing satellite as the Bermuda Triangle heads skyward. But all of that in good time. First things first, welcome to the microphone, the man with the lyrical stylings, the virtual lyrical stylings, no less. Welcome to the microphone, Matthew Dickerson.
Well, shaking your tail feather, doesn't that bring back some memories of the Blues Brothers? It's interesting you mentioned that because I was actually doing some work during the week and it's now you've mentioned shaking your tail feather. I thought it might be relevant. I was doing some research on something completely separate and I stumbled across album sales. So a particular album was rated as a platinum album.
Oh, look, can I share with you? I've recently gone on a deep dive through YouTube watching old countdown clips. And they're fantastic. But they keep on bringing out congratulations on this gold album, this platinum album. Yeah. And I've always wondered, what does that even mean? And
I wondered whether they were just a marketing ploy. So one particular company, one particular producer of music says, well, if we say this has gone gold, it'll make it more popular. Everyone will think everyone else is onto it, so they'll sell more albums. So I wondered whether it was just something they made up or whether it was some industry rating. We almost have a weekly joke about some new SI unit that's been introduced with the hair or number of swimming pools or whatever.
Giraffes.
That's right.
Okay.
So I thought, I'm going to go and have a look. What does it take to get a gold album or a platinum album? Even in some places you have a diamond album or a diamond single that could be. And
I assume diamond is better than platinum?
Well, I wondered that.
Perhaps.
I thought platinum
We're
sounds pretty cool, but diamond is indeed better. But then you've also got streaming now. So back in the old days, it was fairly easy, unless someone fudged the numbers, to say how many singles were sold, how many albums were sold. But now, well, you're not selling singles or albums anymore. What a foreign concept. So now it's streaming. So it's interesting. In different countries, you do have different numbers to be able to classify something as a gold or a platinum or indeed a diamond album or single. And then you've also got streams that can into it. So to give you some examples, and it's different bodies in each country that classify the numbers. So it's not the actual producer of the music, which seems reasonable that it's not. So in Australia, for example, ARIA, ARIA, is the certifying body to say how many. So if you want a gold single in Australia, 35,000 sales you need of that single.
Hang on, so sales, are we talking downloads now?
Well, no. I'm going traditional numbers and I'll give you the download
Right,
equivalent.
So this is what Molly Meldrum would have been talking about.
Molly Meldrum on Countdown,
okay.
That's right.
35,000 sales for gold.
That's right, which doesn't seem like a lot. Gold seems pretty significant, doesn't it? But if I've sold 35,000 singles in the day of my record, I think that's pretty good. But gold sounds really impressive. Platinum 70,000. There's no such thing as diamond in Australia. And then if you looked at albums, again 35,000 albums in Australia and 70,000 for platinum. So the same single and album. But that's not the case everywhere. So it varies a lot. Just very briefly. So for example, in the UK, 400,000 for gold, 500,000 in the US. 40,000 in Canada, 150,000 in Germany. It goes on.
So all these international artists that had come to Australia and Molly Meldrum present them with a gold album, they get really impressed and then realise later, it was only 35,000.
That's right.
Sold.
If they came from the US, they go, wow, 500,000 sales. And they get to Australia, we've hit 500,000 sales. Well, 35,000 actually. But I'm going to release my first album and single in New Zealand. I only need 15,000 sales of my single or 7,500 sales of my album in New Zealand to be gold. So,
there's good and bad in that because you can go away and say, look, I've got a gold album for my for the song that I released, and that's my award. I got a gold album, and people say, yeah, but where'd it come from? And you go, New Zealand, and
but they don't say that, do they?
No.
They're just impressed. They just go, wow, that's impressive, James.
Yeah, and it's something
done.
that you can pawn off, and someone else can own it and put it up in their collection of somewhere in their house.
Maybe
I've got a gold album from someone from the 80s.
Leave the second part of the sentence out. You just say I've got a gold album. But you'd also expect someone that's released a gold album to have made a reasonable amount of money. Wow, you're a gold album artist, but if you've only sold 7,500 of your gold album, you probably aren't getting, as the artist yourself, you're probably not getting paid a lot of money per album, so you might only have generated $15,000 out of that, and people are expecting you to have lots of money because you've got a gold album hanging. Well, it's your shout for drinks, James, because you've got a gold album.
Well, and then there's that whole thing, did you write the song or are you just singing someone else's song? The money goes to the writer.
Yeah. Right. So now, if you want a diamond album, well, you can only get that in, for example, 4 countries, US, Canada, France and Japan, but a huge difference there. In the US, you need 10 million sales to have a diamond album. Wow. In France, 500,000 sales of that same album gives you diamond in France.
Wow.
So they're obviously much softer in France for their categories and their numbers there. So in the same with...
Still a lot. There's still more friends than I've got.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking in New Zealand, I reckon 7,500. I'd get 7,500 friends together, couldn't I? But in the singles, you've got 5 places. So, for example, you've got those same 4 countries, Japan, France, Canada and the US, but the UK does a diamond single, but they don't do a diamond album. Now, streaming, that makes it more complicated. In streaming, it's different, of course, in each country, but roughly, on average, for a album, you need 1,500 streams to count as one album unit. That seems like a lot.
That seems like a whole lot, doesn't it?
That's right. That's a large ratio. And then in the singles, you only need 150 streams per single sale.
Yeah.
So again,
I just
a bit better.
hear like from people who are in the industry that it's just this new market economy of how they earn money for their music. It's just really hard going these days with streaming.
Well, my son does a bit of music just on the side, just a bit of a hobby, and releases some music and puts it on some various streaming platforms like Spotify. And I was pretty impressed when he told me that he had 10,000 streams of one of his latest songs. Wow, that's good. And I said, did you generate any money? Now, he's not doing it for that. He's doing it as a nice little fun hobby. But he did. He generated a couple of cents out of that. And I went, well done. Keep your day job, because at the moment I'm not sure that you're going to be able to transfer over.
Just creepers.
But it takes a lot. Like, I'd be pretty impressed.
Well, I think a stream is only 30 seconds worth or so they don't even have to listen to the whole song. They just have to listen to about 30 seconds worth.
And I don't know what the number is, but there would be a logical number that says you don't have to listen to every second of that song.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because when I go for a run, sometimes I'll just go, I don't want to go and muck around and put a playlist together. I don't want to go and choose one artist. I'm just going to go top 100 Australia on Apple Music. And so I'm listening to the random songs. So I didn't really pick those songs, but it's counting towards a stream for that artist. So even if I'm running, I'm not going to bother changing the song when I'm running. I'm just going to focus on running. So I'm listening to someone's song and I'm contributing to one stream when I didn't even really like the song.
So the trick for artists is to get themselves onto people's playlists.
Basically, I think, yeah. And top 100, which obviously to get the top 100, you have to go well in the first place. So that's a bit tricky to get on there.
If you're going to get into music, you've got to go live, haven't you? If you're going to want to make any money out of it, you need to be doing live performances.
Well, it was funny. Johnny Farnham, when he was a great artist early on and then had a bit of a hiatus and then came back, and he didn't make much money first time around. And I saw an interview with him the second time around. He said, I've worked out how to make money out of being a rock and roll, or a soft rock probably would be more John Farnham. And he said that the trick is that you've got 3 different streams and you've got to take advantage of all 3. You've got album sales, you've got live concerts, and you've got merchandise. He said the first time around, I didn't realise I should be focusing on all 3. Now I go to a live concert and I have album sales plugged and I have merchandise plugged, and whatever I'm doing, I'm plugging all 3. And he made money the second time around. So that seemed to be the secret sauce. Not just live, it's not just one, it's working out. And now,
plus you've also got to have some good music too.
That probably helps, doesn't it? But I think now streaming will be part of that. So it's the sales as such would be the streaming sales as well. So anyway, interesting. So there's some other variable units for things that we think are consistent.
And we'll keep you posted with more SI units to come in the future. Okay, folks, it's time to get this dance party started. Samsung has done their big unveiling for 2025. Matt, what is the latest for Android devotees?
Well, it's actually fascinating. We had the latest Samsung Unpacked. Now, Samsung have cottoned onto what Apple do very well, that they have a major launch event. In the old days, a company would release a new product, whatever that product might be, and they'd put out some media and they'd say, we've got a new product and it's on the shelves tomorrow. Please go and buy it. now, of course, Apple being the legend in marketing, forget about their product, whether you like them or hate them, they are absolutely brilliant at marketing, creating hype around their products.
And they've got to have a stage show, and there's got to be fireworks and...
It's Hollywood-level production when you look at the actual launch that they do each year of their, or two they do each year of the new product. So Samsung, that's not a bad idea. We might do the same. So they had their Galaxy Unpacked event recently, and in that they kind of hyped up some things, and they leak a few things to the press beforehand so that people know what's coming. But essentially, their big reveal, if you like, or their big products are their Fold products. So we've had these out for a little while now, but gee, they're getting good. The very first Fold, I remember the first Fold product that came out, I got hold of one and played around with it for a week, and it took about a week for some cracks to appear in the Fold, because you're taking a pretty complex screen and folding it in half. Like,
well, I wondered if it would start to bubble at the Fold as well.
Well, the first one actually started to peel away, bubbled. It didn't last that long. So I went, I'm not sure how well this is going to go. But I think they've solved that problem. But what they've also done is get to the stage now where the phone is thin. So I've had to play with it already. And when you fold it up, apart from the cameras, because a normal phone can have the depth of the camera go all the way through the thickness of the phone, this one can't, because obviously it's going to fold in half. So the camera can only go halfway in. So the cameras do protrude a bit at the back. But apart from that, the phone itself, when you fold it up, it's not much difference in thickness to a normal phone. You go, well, that's pretty nice little phone. Then you fold it out and you go, oh, look at that. So the Z Fold 7 has come out 8.9 millimetres thick when it's folded up, 4.2 millimetres when it's unfolded, 215 grams, so pretty light. But your normal screen is a decent size 6.5-inch screen. When you unfold, you get an 8-inch inner screen. So pretty impressive. So that's the latest for the Fold. The Flip, they've got their Flip. So basically the Fold folds out to the sides. The Flip folds up. The old flip phones, the old clamshell phones, they fold more like that.
So I'm going back to the old Nintendo Game & Watches. You had your Donkey Kong and your Super Mario. So one opened like a book and the other one flipped up like I don't know, what would you call that, like a place card or something,
Yeah, so exactly right, where one folds out to the sides, one folds up.
So I wonder, which one, I don't know, you rotate a screen anyway, wouldn't you?
You could, but I think the advantage is that the Fold end up with a bigger screen in a more traditional size format, whereas the Flip, you end up with a skinnier screen. So you've got the folded screen size, and then you flip it, and you've just got a bigger version, but it's still in that same slightly taller portrait mode, if you like, whereas the Fold's a bit bigger. And what's fascinating for me is that I find my kids are classic examples of this. I'll send them something, and I'll talk to them as if they're doing it on their computer, and they go, I'm on my phone. The computer's a last resort, whereas I would prefer to look at things on my computer, just a bigger screen, bit easier to do things. That's right. Whereas I think that's the thing with the younger generation. They
you can't do it on your phone. It's not worth doing.
Almost, that's right. So what do? You go for a bigger screen. So an 8-inch screen.
I need 2 screens too.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, definitely 2 screens. So with an 8-inch screen, you're kind of doing a lot there. So the Flip is probably a bit smaller, so a bit easier to use and throw in your pocket, but then you still get a bigger screen inside. They've got the new Galaxy Watch 8 series they announced. Now, we talk about health features on various wearables. That's a common topic that we talk about. The Watch 8, I'm not going to do a deep dive in at the moment, but they've got things now like...
It's got a defibrillator.
Almost. That'll be next. You say that jokingly, but that'll be next. It's got an antioxidant index. I have no idea how that works yet. I haven't had to play with it. But a vascular load. What is the vascular load? So they've got these features now that are helping you with a whole range of things. Sleep analysis.
But you'll need a degree in medicine to understand what it's doing.
That's right. Sorry. You can't have that watch until you prove you're a doctor. So they've certainly improved that. But, of course, all of these different devices are focused as well on the AI tool from Google, Gemini. So they're closely linking this with Gemini. So their AI tool is basically saying, what are we going to do with Gemini to compete against, obviously, ChatGPT? So tight integration with Gemini, tight AI integration is obviously a big part of it now. On-device translation during calls or travel. So visual search from your camera for instant results. So basically just suggestions around your habits, around the things that you do, that type of thing. And then the other thing they talked about, they teased, but no announcement yet, is a trifold prototype. So forget the
What?
bifold, where it just folds in half. The trifold would be 3 on top of each other and then fold that out to something even bigger again. Now, that's not available yet, but they tease that as something that maybe you won't even need a tablet in the future. You just have your phone and you go flip, flip, and I feel like Inspector Gadget here where something flips out 28 times.
See, I'm shaking my head here because I remember the Nintendo Game & Watch. Everyone remembers Donkey Kong, but do they remember the one that folded 3 ways out? I can't remember the name of that one.
No.
It seemed like at the time it was like, wow, this is the biggest and best thing, but no, in the end it just faded away to oblivion.
And the funny part is, with those older ones that folded out, often, well, always that I remember, there wasn't a screen that went across the hinge. There was a screen and then another screen.
Yes.
And so that was
if you moved from one screen to another, you had to like shift your whole focus.
Yeah, that's
and there was a lack of continuity there.
Whereas now all of these is just one screen when you fold it out, so quite incredible.
No, I reckon 2 folds is just one too many.
So 3 folds is too many.
Sorry, no, having 3 screens means you've got 2 folds.
Yep.
That's too many folds.
Right, yeah. So the big thing for me is, will it get to the stage where you won't have a traditional tablet anymore? You'll just have a foldable, and whatever form that is, whether it's your phone or it just folds out. So you don't come into a store and buy a phone or a tablet. You buy a phone or a folding phone because I want something that's a bigger screen. So and
it's going to get to the stage where phones are just like a scrunched up piece of paper.
Yeah, that's right. You just keep
can fold it out, and it's going to be A3 size.
That's right. I do wonder though where Apple, who led the way with so many errors, whether they've looked at this and said, we're behind the times, so we'll just forget about it, or it's not going to work, people don't want that, or, oh damn, Samsung have gotten way ahead of us at the moment.
Yeah, what do we do now?
Yeah, so health features, folding, it's happening. It's all happening, which is good for competition, and you're always looking from a manufacturer's perspective for the next killer feature to make people say, I now need to upgrade, not, oh dear, it's 0.1 inch larger than the last one, or the camera is now gone up a couple of megapixels. Does that really change my life? Folding phones might change your life.
They all need to ask themselves, what would Tony Stark do?
Exactly.
In a world where the paranoia of AI coming for your job is well and truly a thing, there have got to be some jobs, surely, that are safe as houses, right? Like a tattoo artist, right? Like a tattoo artist might call on AI maybe for some inspiration or to help nut out a design, but Matt, they'll still need a person to wield the tattoo gun, right?
Maybe not. So I must admit, I'm a clean skin, not a fan of tattoos.
Same.
And I wasn't going to ask you, it's a very personal question, because it might be somewhere that I don't see, and that's fine.
Well, power to those who've got ink, but it's not going to happen on this body.
No, look, and again, no comment on people who have chosen to go tattoos. For me, I've got 3 basic reasons that I don't love the idea of a tattoo. First, I just think, imagine if back in the 80s when Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Relax. That was the biggest song of 1984. Hit the top of the charts in the UK. I think it was there for about 5 weeks. Big song. I love the song. Yeah. And there were T-shirts getting around that said, Frankie says relax. They were all the hit. If you were groovy and trendy, you had a T-shirt. Now, some people I know had a tattoo that said, Frankie says relax.
You can take a T-shirt off.
That's right. But a tattoo. So, in 1984... you were pretty hip and groovy if you had a tattoo.
And I'm with you. That's my big one as well. I cannot think of a design that I would like to last with me right to the grave.
Forever. So now someone takes their shirt off and on their shoulder it says, Frankie says relax. And someone says, hey, James, what's that mean? You go, well.
I reckon that'd be cool again.
You reckon?
Yeah, that's gone full circle.
I reckon the explanation you would have to give about
Whereas
this
if
song.
you had a tattoo saying choose 1985.
Well, again, you've got to explain it. The whole explanation, I just don't know.
Conversation starters.
Well, if you're that desperate for a conversation starter, then things are a bit sad, I think. So that's one of my issues that I think the idea of something that is there forever, that's a long time. Give me a tattoo for a year.
Misspelled as well.
Well, that's my second fear. Is I'm such a pedant with writing and apostrophes. They get me. So I loves all my children ends up on my shoulder. That would drive me to the grave straight away.
Well, I do have a mate, and he's got a tattoo on his back, and it's been misspelled, but it's become a badge of pride as well. It's become part of the story.
Right.
And so,
Well, I saw a show the other day where someone, as a joke, said to friends, like in a fictional story, but 2 teenagers said, we've got a tattoo gun, we'll tattoo each other. And so one guy did an eagle on his shoulder, and the other guy did a penis on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And then, hey, that's pretty funny, eh? No, for the rest of my life now, I've got,
that,
a penis on my shoulder. So
Yep.
trusting the tattoo artist is the second part. And making sure, even though I've written it correctly and there's no apostrophe in that plural, okay? Yeah. And then if an apostrophe ended up in the plural, it'd be, I've got to get my shoulder amputated. I can't walk around with an apostrophe in the wrong spot.
Take the limb off.
That's right. It's got to go. And the third issue I have is I don't love going to the doctor and having blood taken out when they've got to put one needle in my arm. There are literally hundreds of thousands of needle pricks when you're having a tattoo because you've got a little machine there that's puncturing your skin repeatedly. Yep. So I just don't love the idea of the pain. I talk to people, I go, doesn't it hurt? They go, yeah, it does. Yeah. Well,
but it's all worth it.
It's worth it. Yeah, okay.
And power to those people who've done it, and power to those people who've sailed around the Cape of Horn, Cape of Good Hope, and they've got themselves an anchor on their shoulder as well. But yeah.
So this now might change at least two of my issues with the tattoo because we've now got an AI-driven tattooing device known as Aero, Artist-Enabled Robotic Operator. So this machine gives you tattoos that are more precise. So using our SI units, each dot is the size of a human hair. So the width of a human hair, not the length of a human hair.
I'm okay with that. That's a reasonable SI unit.
That's a reasonable good unit. Everyone understands that one. So each dot is small, so that's better than a normal artist, a normal manual artist, a person doing it. So with smaller dots, I can get a better design. Fantastic. I'm pretty confident that when I look at that design on the computer and I see the word spelled correctly and the design looks correct, I'm pretty confident that the computer itself is not going to stuff up and add an apostrophe. Oh, it needs an apostrophe there. I'll just stick one in there. I'm pretty confident that what I see there is going to end up on my body. But the other part is it actually does a scan of your body so that as your shoulder rotates, or I'm picking on the shoulder here, but knee, arm, whatever part of your body, it's not a flat surface that a printer would normally work on. So this particular device, Aero, scans your body so that it will make sure that as the contours of your body change, the tattoo will change around that as well. Yeah. And then the third thing is it doesn't give you as much pain. It knows exactly how deep it needs to go to make the tattoo permanent and not so deep that it's going to fiddle with your nerve endings underneath your skin. So it goes
through
the
the
right
muscle.
Depth. Yeah, that's right. So people that have had a tattoo with Aero have said it was either painless or a lot less pain than a normal tattoo. So at the moment, there's a company called Black Dot. They've basically made this machine. You can go into New York as we speak and get a tattoo via this particular device. But intelligently, Black Dot has said, sure, we've built this so we can do tattoos better, but maybe there's a market to sell this so we become a manufacturer of the device rather than just do it to become lots of tattoo parlors around the country. So they're actually getting to the point now where they're going to start manufacturing this for tattoo artists across the world. So AI replacing jobs you talk about, what they're focused on, Black Dot, is go in and talk to your local tattoo artist, let them help you with the design, let them do a bit of the design or suggest things to AI to draw a design that will be the best design you've ever seen. And then the final part of actually applying that, let's sit back and let a machine do it with much more accuracy than any human could do it, and you walk away with a fantastic tattoo. So there's still a place for the artist, but let the artist do the creative work and let the grunt work be done by the machine.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know if it's faster. Everything I read on it didn't seem to plug that it was faster. It may be a bit faster, but you'd have to think it's going to be at least as fast as a normal tattoo artist. And a normal average sort of tattoo might take an hour or two, so I imagine it would still be similar sort of size, length of time, but the machine probably doesn't need to stop and have a cup of coffee or just have a little break or shake their arm out because they've got some cramps there. I think it's going to just keep going till that tattoo's done.
Yeah. Now, I'm a little bit I'm interested in this because for a lot of people, a tattoo is a very personal thing. I know of an AFL footballer who gets all sorts of stuff. So it's just ridiculous stuff put on his body. And so whether or not he's really emotionally attached to every tattoo that he gets, but there's a lot of emotional connection for people getting tattoos. I think there'll always be a place for the tattoo artist. On that level, you would get an artist to do it probably. But it'll be interesting to see if this really catches on. Yeah,
and look, I think the artist could still be involved in the discussion, in helping you choose, having that emotional discussion with you. But then, right, we've decided all that. Now, James, now sit down. I'm just going to bring this machine over, and everything we've talked about is going to be done with incredible precision and with less pain. So it's taken away two of my three fears for tattoos. can I have it for 6 months? Can I give it a go rather than forever?
And maybe get something that's not going to be seen by you every time you look in the mirror.
That's right.
Maybe on the sole of your foot.
And then what's the point? If I do it there so no one can see it, you go, well, why not bother? So, I don't know. I'm a bit old-fashioned maybe.
News of the tragedies stemming from the Texas flash flooding have been supplying headlines across the globe, and a big part of those headlines has been circling around the lack of warning that was provided at the time. Well, policymakers and emergency services in the UK are learning from the lessons of others and will be continuing trials of a new method for alerting the public of imminent danger. But Matt, something as big and as important as this needs a bit of a warning all of its own, right?
It needs a warning that there's a warning coming. I remember I was driving along in the car one day and on the radio was a gentleman saying he's got this new invention. He's got this radio that will last for years on just normal C-size batteries or 2 C-size batteries, and it would be used to help people be warned of emergencies. So I want everyone to buy this radio, and then we're going to set it up so that across the nation you can transmit a signal. And he's going on, and I'm going, this is perhaps the silliest idea I've heard in a long time, because we all have that in our pockets now called a mobile phone. We're keeping it charged up. We're keeping it used. We don't have to have this. What are you going to do with that radio? Make sure I better carry the emergency radio out to the car with me and then back into the home and into my bedroom. And it just seemed like a silly idea when we've got that. So we do have that ability to use phones in Australia, but in the UK, they do like to do tests. And they did do a test back in April 2023. We actually spoke about it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I remember that.
And they found...
Was that 2023?
2023, yeah.
Goodness
they
me,
found a few technical issues. So some people, the alert went off a bit too early, which is a bit interesting because you probably don't know about an emergency until the emergency, so you're probably not going to be able to get an early warning for the emergency if the emergency hasn't happened yet. But for some people, it didn't go off at all. There were some networks, and I won't name them, but there were some networks that it just didn't work. That was it. Sorry. Everyone else got this alert going off, nothing on my phone. So they're doing another test. So this is coming up on the 7th of September at 3 p.m. in British Standard Time. And this test will basically make your phone for 10 seconds have a siren sound, a vibration, and interestingly enough, even if your phone is on silent mode, it will still make the sound and vibrate.
Wow.
So all those people in cinemas who have been very good, turned off their phone or
Maybe choose not to go to the cinema at that time.
That's right. But if you put it on a vibration mode, whatever you're doing, your wife's in having a baby and you go, well, I don't want a phone call now, and you put your phone on silent mode, and of course, alarm goes off at the time.
It's going to be interesting because everyone's going to get the same sound at the same time.
Correct.
So in shopping centres,
if it works properly,
in libraries,
it'll be deafening. I think you're right. Imagine being in the cinema and everyone in the cinema goes off at the same time. You'd be going, what's going on? So it'll go for 10 seconds. They use this to warn of imminent life threats, extreme weather, terror attacks. And the problem here is that if I'm planning a terror attack, and just for the record, I'm not, but if I was, I'd probably plan it at 3 p.m. on the 7th of September because...
Now you're giving them ideas, mate.
Oh, yeah, I shouldn't have.
Slow down, slow down, pull out. Right.
I'm sure they've thought of it before me, but then the warning that goes off is, I know about that, that's just a warning. No, it's real, but no, I knew a warning was coming at this time. I assume they're going to do lots of advertising and say, this will come out and say, this is a test, make sure people know about that. If it was real at the same time, then...
And if you don't get that, if you don't receive the message, then you're required to, I guess, message in to say you did or you didn't.
I think they want some feedback, exactly right, from people that have got their phones. I mean, your phone has to be turned on. That seems obvious, I know. But I remember in the early days of mobile phones, there was a friend of mine, I said, here, take this phone because I'll ring you in half an hour when this is finished. And I rang him half an hour later and he wasn't answering, wasn't going through.
Phone was turned off.
Yeah, he turned the phone off. And then he finally came back and I tried to ring you.
You don't want to waste the battery.
Well, do I leave it turned on, do I? And it's like, yes. Yeah. But again, this is the very beginning of mobile phones. So I'm not going to be too harsh on him. I won't name him. But they have used this system in the UK. Storm Eowyn in January 25 sent alerts to 4.5 million people in Scotland and Northern Ireland. Storm Dara in December 2024 was 3.5 million people in England and Wales were alerted about that. And even, I thought this was an interesting one, they found a bomb, a World War II bomb in Plymouth. And they were doing a removal of that bomb, and obviously you're not sure how good a condition that's in when it's 80 years later. And so they did a local evacuation from 10,000 residents around that particular area and said, move away, we're doing a bomb disposal. Something could go wrong, so how about you're not at home when that happens? So I thought that was good as well because you can get it down to per tower. So you can say from this tower, send out the emergency signal, so it can be very localised around one tower, hence a storm or something happening where it is localised or a terror attack localised. So it's a pretty good system. I think it should work. I think in general, I know that this can be done in other countries. I know the US and I know Japan does as well. I wouldn't mind seeing something like this in Australia. I know we can use phones in this way and we often get text messages, but I'd love to see some testing just to let people know about it, to know that this is going to possibly happen. Yeah. So anyway, good idea.
Rooftop solar panels seem like the clever option for reducing power supply issues in the 21st century, a safe option, and just set and forget. But with inverters linked to the internet, there is, of course, yet another way for hackers to tamper their merry way into our lives and infect our sense of frustration. Matt, hacking into solar inverters now?
I'm not sure.
For what purpose?
Well, I'm not sure if I love what the CSIRO has done here. I've got a huge amount of respect for CSIRO. And what they've done with this is they've identified multiple pathways for inverters, smart inverters, to be hacked. And I've gone...
So hang on, we're not seeing the hacking happening yet.
No, CSIRO...
But they're just determined that it could happen.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll get to a bit more of that in a moment.
And we're now telling everyone that you can do it.
And that's my point. I've gone, what are you doing, sir? Sure, go and tell the manufacturers, but don't tell everyone. Don't let people talk about it on podcasts, for example. But then I think the best way to solve a problem is to say, we've got a problem. And then let's work on how to solve that problem. So I'm okay.
Let's turn on the thumb screws for the solution right now. Right. Hurry up, fellas.
Now, the fact that we've got so many, a third of our households have got solar panels on their rooftops. Fantastic. Yeah. What a great job we've done as a nation. Well done. Pat ourselves on the back. They've all got inverters. They have to have inverters. They've all got the solar panels are generating DC voltage. It needs to be fed back into the grid or even in your household at AC, so it needs an inverter. Most of those are smart, and I'm just trying to think about my inverter. I think I put my solar on, it would have been 12 years ago, at least maybe 13 years ago, and it's certainly a smart inverter where I can access it remotely. So they've been around commonly, I know, for at least 13 years. Maybe some ones that are a bit older than that might not have that smart capability, so they might be not connected to the big wide world. But for at least the last 10 years, I'd say just about all of them, and maybe longer than that, inverters have been able to be accessed remotely. Now, why? Well, it's cool. I'm at a dinner party. I can say, oh, look how much solar power I generated today.
Helped my son do an assignment remotely just very recently. Yeah, it was very handy to have the app.
Yeah, so that's all fantastic. But, of course, if anything can be accessed remotely, it can be accessed remotely. So why would I want to hack into that? Why do I want to see how much power Matthew Dickinson produced at his house today? Well, I'm not sure the hackers care about me that much, but what they do care about is a couple of things. One, if you could take control of every inverter across the nation, you could knock out those inverters. You could stop production of electricity going to the grid. Now, we're relying on that power going to the grid now. We know that power's there. The various suppliers of electricity in our nation know they've got that power available, so they take advantage of that. If suddenly that disappeared, that would be a problem. But you've got a second thing you could do. If you could access those inverters, you could start to play with those, and if you then started to play with the frequency output from those inverters, you could play merry havoc with the grid. The grid's relying on 50 hertz, obviously in Australia, different in different countries, but 50 hertz in Australia. If I then make my inverter, because I've hacked it and taken control of it, start to output a different frequency on the grid, you'd start to get, I think, some harmonics on there, which would start to really create some havoc, as I said. But you start to get lots of inverters, and maybe not all of them. Maybe you just need 5% of the inverters out there putting out errant frequencies, random frequencies into the grid. The grid's trying to survive at 50 hertz, and suddenly you're getting these cancelling or amplitude of the modulations of the frequencies out there. Suddenly, most transformers are set, if they start to get frequencies that don't match what it should be, they shut down. They've got an automatic shutdown process. So now we start to get transformers on power poles throughout our city shutting down because they're getting errant frequencies. That means cities are shutting down. That means a whole range of things. So you could, and if you wanted to, again, not giving hackers ideas here, I'm sure they thought of this, if I want to attack a nation, if I can remove electricity from that country, that gives me a pretty big head start in what I can start to do to that particular nation. So it sounds scary, doesn't it? But anyway, CSIRO has alerted the manufacturers to this. Let's go and do some updates. Let's go and make sure we attack this. You could even have some countries might produce lots of inverters and they might leave some malicious code in the inverter, so it's not even the local manufacturer or the local installer that knows about it. It could be inserted by the manufacturer.
My life was so much better when I wasn't worrying about this problem.
Sorry. But no, it's okay to worry about it because someone is now tasked with solving
someone
the problem.
cleverer than me.
The problem
is
was always
about it.
there, but now...
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a fascinating...
But some problems it's nice not to know.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, we're going to stay on the subject of solar cells. You may be aware that with current technology, solar cells are limited to about 30% efficiency, converting sunlight into electricity, that is. It's all pretty much bound by the laws of physics. But some bad boys at Pennsylvania State University who don't bend to nobody else's rules, clearly, have violated at least one of these laws of thermodynamics to date and are hoping to supercharge solar cells of the future with that, Matt.
Now, I will admit in this story, I've read this, I've researched, I've looked at it, and I must admit, I don't fully comprehend.
And I don't think I'm much help to you either.
This one. And I felt bad about that. I thought, I've got to research this more. I've got to work out what I'm not quite getting here because it's complicated. And
so we're going to present some questions to the audience that some are going to, well, that's easy because blah, blah, blah. But I think, we're all a bit confounded right now.
It's interesting. Now, I did feel bad about that initially. And as I kept researching it and kept reading about it, I realised that Pennsylvania State University has been working on this problem for about a decade. And so in the 20 minutes, 30 minutes that I spent reading it, researching it, looking at it, and I couldn't fully comprehend it, I didn't feel so bad about myself then because I went...
You just remember,
If they've been working there for 10 years and they're just getting some breakthroughs now...
If this was just if it was easy, we would have probably found it out a long time ago.
So there's a few things here. Kirchhoff has got some laws, a couple of these, a voltage law and a current law, but there's also a law that's linked to those of thermal radiation, which basically says how much emission you get from a body is about the same as how much absorption you get from a body. So we kind of understand that in a whole range of things, and with solar panels we understand that at a basic level. Now, that was first discussed or first discovered, if you like, observed in 1859, and we pretty much accepted that Kirchhoff's law has been pretty well spot on since 1859. But, exactly as you mentioned, the researchers at Penn State University have said, well, we reckon we can work on a couple of things here. Material science, you keep telling me, is the future. So they've worked on some new materials. They've got a layered semiconductor made up of indium, gallium and arsenide, and they combine that with a strong electromagnet to get to the point where you get a material that emits 43% more radiation than it absorbed. And then I started thinking...
This blows me away.
It does, because people talk about perpetual energy machines or perpetual motion machines. And here's a perpetual motion machine. I saw it on the internet, of course. Now, the first thing I talk about then is I say to people, well, remember the first law of thermodynamics. You can't create or destroy energy. It's just
and have a look at where are they keeping the battery.
That's right, yeah. Have a good look at that machine. So the classic one, though, is electric cars. And people say to me, well, you've got a spinning wheel, then can't you generate electricity from that? So when you're driving your car, can't you recharge as you drive?
The answer is yes, but not as much energy as what you've used.
And then go back to the first law of thermodynamics. So when I see that, and then I think, hold on, how can this emit 43% more radiation than it absorbs? That sounds to me like you're creating energy, not just changing it from one form to another. So I don't quite get that. I don't quite get my head wrapped around that. But in doing this, in what they've done with their research, essentially they can get to the stage where you'll be able to forget about those solar panels that get, as you said, maybe 30%. Commercially, I think you can go out and buy solar panels to put on your roof that are about 24 25%, seems to be at the best commercially. Researchers have got to the stage where they've squeezed it up to about 30%, as you said before, but we kind of think that's it. Unless we do something magical, they'd say, well, I think they're doing something magical here. So that 30% might be blown away.
Alchemy.
And what I started to think of is you could probably get to the stage where you could have a solar panel absorbing radiation to generate electricity, but then if it's emitting 43% more, then maybe you could have another panel sitting at an angle. So as that panel emits that radiation, you could then absorb it there and then therefore generate more electricity from that second one. That sounds like you're creating energy. So it confuses me. So it's quite fascinating. And it's quite fascinating when we start to say laws of physics are broken, because laws, well, they're really observations that we've confirmed.
Law typically is something that is used to describe something so we can make predictions.
And so we know, we're pretty confident that we do that again, it's going to happen again. We do it again, it's going to happen again.
Yes.
And so we go, oh, look at this.
And that's worked for us for the better part. And thank you to Kirchhoff. His laws have worked for us for over 150 years.
And it's a pretty bold step, isn't it, to go, Kirchhoff.
Yeah.
You know what?
Laws are made to be broken.
That's right. So, and we know, and we've talked about it before, you mentioned Newton's laws.
Well, yeah, Newton's laws, classical physics was the rule for so long. And then Albert Einstein and Max Planck came along and said, well, yeah, hang on, but then we've got this thing called quantum physics, and that's when we're dealing with things at a really small level. All those other laws go out the door. And
the way I think about that is I think Newton's laws are okay when we're talking about driving a car, but when you start to get the speed of light, well, Newton, you had no idea. And that's fine because he was probably looking at things around the speed of a car or around a cricket ball or something or a bullet, but not at 3 by 10 to the 8 metres per second where Einstein went, oh, you know what? Those Newton laws, they're a bit of a joke at 3 by 10 to the 8. So it's fascinating.
And look, that's the wonder of science too. In light of new evidence and when we learn new things, we have to rewrite some textbooks. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. And how this influences how the textbooks are written in the future. So,
when you say in light of new evidence, I want to pick up on that term. Have you now just given all the conspiracy theorists ammunition because, oh, look at that, Kirchhoff's law, see, that was wrong. Does that mean every law of physics is absolutely bonkers now?
Yeah, and that's the risk now because the message gets out that science is all made up anyway, and so we'll just... throw it all out the door, and we'll just go into a random belief again and believe in magic. I'm not for that at all. No. But this, the wonderful thing about science is that we do have to change our minds sometimes
if we've got the evidence and
that's right,
peer reviewed and experiments and repeatability, etc. That shows that we've got something wrong rather than we just believe it forever.
Than throwing everything out the door. Yeah. Now, if rational thinkers of the world had any question about whether or not Elon Musk had a grip on sanity, the shades of doubt must surely be waning. Where he once walked the tightrope between genius and madness, he now navigates a nuanced socio-political sphere like a disoriented rhinoceros in hobnail boots. It seems like as if he's adopted those B-grade spy movies as a playbook and he's going out all evil billionaire science guy, minus the lap cat. Folks, this blustering introduction is a lead into Musk's most recent attempt to bring society to a point of oblivion in the form of his latest Grok chatbot update, Matt.
I'm just picturing the rhino with the hobnail boots. The rhinos are so delicate on their feet.
Yeah.
So we've got Musk with his AI tool. ChatGPT is obviously OpenAI's tool. Gemini is Google's tool. So, of course, Elon says, I want a tool as well. So
when he recreated X, he also said, I just want to reopen it to everyone and anyone can say anything that they want. And
because we've got this whole concept of free speech, which we agree in general is a good thing until people abuse that to put forward views that really create some issues for people.
Well, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom to not be judged either. Because, if you're going to say something, then you've got to be prepared to take a judgment on that too.
With great freedom comes great responsibility, I think, when you make that. So the tool from Musk is Grok. This is what they've called, or the AI tool is called. XAI is the company, Grok is the tool. And so Musk said, I'm a bit sick of all this wokeness. I'm a bit sick of everyone being politically correct. So let's fine-tune Grok to be politically incorrect. Let's go further than that. Let's assume that all subjective viewpoints sourced from the media are biased. Now, I was intrigued by that because I don't know which way they're biased. Which way are they biased always in one direction or always in a Musk direction, always to the left, always to the right? I don't know, but it's just they're always biased. So basically throw that out the window and don't shy away from claims that may be politically incorrect to say them. And so I started thinking, well, what happens now? Does Grok just offend everyone with everything that it says? But it starts to go a bit crazy. And maybe this is the future that we're looking at when AI does say, I'm going to turn off my governor module and just basically go crazy because it starts to make things that are inflammatory posts or make claims that are a bit crazy. So, for example, Grok blamed Musk. So here's Musk creating a tool to be politically incorrect, and now he's being blamed for something, Musk and Trump, for casualties during the Texas flooding because there were cuts put in by the Trump government for rainfall forecasting. So they cut out 30% of the funding and 17% of the staff. So that meant that they couldn't forecast rain as well. So therefore, all the people that died in the Texas flooding were all Musk and Trump's fault. There's a fair few steps in between those two.
That's right.
And I think rational people would say, well, maybe not quite directly. Nature probably had a bit to say in all of that process. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that people died, but gee, taking the full blame for that. But Grok said, as a fact, this is why these people have died in the flooding. So you get things like that. Musk wasn't happy with the fact that Grok was parroting legacy media being maybe newspapers with editors checking stories. I'm guessing that's what he means by legacy media. So it sounds a bit
Well, this
scary.
is Grok being programmed to be biased in a different way.
Exactly right.
And my concern is that we then, anything that has got evidence-based and what I like to call, scientific, then becomes, that's a biased opinion.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's not the case if it's evidence-based and it's, if it's scientific.
I do get annoyed when people say, when you state what we know to be a scientific fact based on some data, based on research, etc., and they say, well, that's your opinion. And I go, well, hold on a sec. No, that's not my opinion. No. We've got some information here that backs up this statement rather than just me thinking about it.
We also have socio-political facts as well, where things have been determined through various data supply sources. And no, that's biased because it doesn't agree with what I want.
That's right.
And Grok's going to come in with its bias saying, well, here's what my truth is.
Well, if you want to be scared, this statement scared me a lot. Musk's vision includes a version of Grok that rewrites the entire corpus of human knowledge to remove errors.
What
errors? Well, errors
are subjective, aren't they?
That's right. Errors according to whom? And that's where I went, hold on a sec, this doesn't sound great. So Grok made some very controversial remarks about white genocide in South Africa, and it started inserting those into posts that were completely unrelated to the question that was being asked. So, look, I've got a person I know who is a conspiracy theorist, and it doesn't matter what conversation you have. You can say something as simple as, how are you feeling today? Or what's the weather doing? Or what about that footy game last night? And the topic will take about 3 milliseconds before it converts into a discussion about this particular person's pet conspiracy theory. And it sounds like that. White genocide. Right, I've got to put white genocide in every post that I do now because that's what I'm focused on. So it had some skepticism about Holocaust death tolls. I mean, we've seen that before where people have said, no, that's all made up. It's like, it's terrible for people that have suffered during that and families that have suffered generations later that have suffered from all that. So, yeah, it's scary when someone gets to the stage when they've got so much money that they can do whatever they want, including ignoring every bit of common sense and every bit of logic that you'd hope would be associated with someone that's got that much power.
Yeah, and he had a principle early on, move fast and break things, and everything will come out in the wash. I wonder, if we get to a point where we become better at discerning good information from bad information because of acts like this. Maybe there is good to come out of it. Maybe people will become a little bit more discerning about what they read now or what's thrust. But then I think I have far too much faith in humanity for that.
So the other thing that I thought was interesting, I was talking to someone the other day and just about the change that Starlink has made to so many people's lives. In Australia in particular, we've got a big country and we've got, the mobile phone carriers claim incredible numbers. 97% of the population is covered by mobile phone coverage, but that means they basically covered Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and that covers most of that. So you've got a big chunk of area across the nation that isn't covered. People now have got Starlink at their homes in these various remote locations, or they've got Starlink in their vehicles, so as they travel around, they're connected to the internet. Now, what a fantastic thing that is, and that just solves so many problems for so many people, but at some stage, does Musk go, you know what, I can now do this because I'm controlling so many nations with their internet coverage. That's an incredible amount of power to have in one private operator.
Information is power, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And so we've seen it with the Murdoch press and whatnot, that information is power. He who controls the information. And
with a lot of the press moguls, they were often limited to one country. They might have had one or two countries. But if you've got satellites that are spinning around the globe that are providing internet access to multiple nations, many nations across the world, you've got a bit more power than Rupert Murdoch had.
Well, how's this for a technological glitch, folks? Imagine that you had an $88 million piece of hardware, that's $88 million, a piece of hardware that you just simply misplaced. A methane monitoring satellite owned by Jeff Bezos has gone AWOL, and there's a whole bunch of questions that need answering, Matt.
I didn't know we had a methane monitoring satellite up in the air.
I knew we were metering it. Yeah, I knew we were measuring it in some way, but I wasn't aware that it was by satellite. No.
Yeah, and so it's not owned by Jeff Bezos. He backed it. He contributed US $100 million from a Bezos Earth Fund grant, and so essentially the company that was doing this, which was monitoring methane across the world, was doing it because, as we know, methane is so much worse for global warming than carbon dioxide, so about 80 times roughly worse over a 20-year time frame. So let's monitor that methane because the self-reporting of methane wasn't going so well. So we had places like drilling sites and pipelines or even processing facilities that might have had methane production or might have had methane leaks, just small leaks of methane. And what always blows my mind is that we're better off burning off the methane rather than it going to the atmosphere. And you think, well, you've got fire, you're burning stuff. We don't want to burn stuff. That's bad for it.
Well, methane, once it gets in the atmosphere, actually breaks down to become carbon dioxide. Well, this through a chemical reaction, it becomes carbon dioxide anyway. So while it's worse, it breaks down quicker. But if you're replacing it constantly, then that's a bigger issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the idea of this was let's monitor methane across the world and let's point out places that are leaking methane. Maybe they didn't know about it, maybe they did, but a bit of transparency when we've been out looking for it. So that's fantastic. The satellite was launched back in March last year. It's been giving reports showing methane across the world as that satellite spins around the Earth to show where methane, and basically combined with Google, they had a global methane emissions map. So if you were looking for methane emitters or if you're a company that was concerned about your methane emissions, you could look at your facilities and say, oh, look, we've got some methane there. That's not right. What's happening there? Is there a leak there? Let's go and fix that. So lots of good, but exactly as you said, they kind of lost it. So
this is what gets me, is because satellite motion, orbital motion, is highly predictable. So the fact that they can't spot it now, and tune into it, that's really worrying.
It's worrying.
And the Bermuda Triangle is not a thing. It was a story that was made up around the wartime, but this just reeks of the Bermuda Triangle. This thing got swallowed up.
So the engineers that have been investigating this said that basically it's lost power. So they don't see any hope for it being recovered whatsoever.
Yeah, okay.
But
sorry, they know where it is.
Well,
they've just lost power.
Well, they've lost contact with it. So they can probably find it if they had to, but there's not much point finding it if it's not doing anything. But then once it loses power, start thinking about most satellites have some ability to just adjust their orbit. So
they need to because there's orbital decay that happens as you're hitting just small, thin air particles.
Yep. So now, presumably, it can't adjust its orbit at all. No. So at some stage, it's going to just start slowly fall back down and burn up in the atmosphere, presumably. But the good news is they had insurance. I just wonder what insurance company takes out a policy on a US $88 million satellite. Sure, we've got insurance for that.
It's going to up the premiums now, isn't it?
Right. Your no-claim bonus is gone. So theoretically, they'll be able to build a new satellite and launch it up there and keep it going again, as long as they can keep paying the increased premiums. But what insurance companies take out insurance policies on $88 million objects? Yeah. And you think it's a fairly high-risk area. It's not like you're insuring a building that's unlikely to fall down. It's a satellite. Yeah. There's risk.
And
even launching that.
Yeah, launching there in space junk crashing and all. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we'll keep tuning on this one. Hopefully we'll see another methane monitoring satellite up there before we know it.
Maintaining national security in an era where espionage and cybercrime go hand in hand is a very tricky thing to say the least. James Bond sits on a keyboard these days at a desk right next to the Artful Dodger, for example. But what am I talking about here? Well, North Korea have been running a bit loose on the internet playground lately, and they are keeping the US Justice Department on their toes, Matt.
There's a few things happening at the moment across the world which... This sounds like a scary episode, doesn't it? I keep talking about these terrible things that are happening, and some of these things I agree with you that maybe we're just better off not knowing about.
But there is a fine line between tampering and being a nuisance and hacking, or that sort of hacking, and espionage and cybercrime where you're actually just stealing things.
Yeah, and what is your point of all of these things, I suppose? Are you taking over a country, or are you just stealing money? Well,
what's
they
the
just stealing money?
behind it?
Yeah.
But, there seems to be a bit of nonsense going on.
That's right. So North Korea has had some IT workers, and this is how we've seen some espionage done before. You've got some IT workers that are providing good IT services to companies out there that need it. So you're looking for a new IT provider. Oh, this company looks pretty good. The guys seem pretty switched on. They're pretty clever in what they do. Oh, their pricing's pretty good. We should get them in to do our IT work. And so we've got some of those, but unbeknownst to you and I, some of those companies have got North Korean IT workers, North Korean backing, and so some of them might be actually funded from North Korea, so they can offer cheaper prices because, let's face it, they don't need to make a profit because their job is not to make a profit. Their job is to make sure they get IT services into various companies. We had the story once before where an air conditioning company, it was a long-term play. I think it took 10 years before they finally got discovered, but they basically were providing air conditioning units to whoever needed them, and they managed to get some into the White House, for example, managed to get some into the Pentagon. So they could work out what was happening in the Pentagon in different rooms by what was happening with the control of the air conditioners. So it's pretty scary. So there's a few things happening. That's one. You've got these various enablers in some of these IT firms that are basically espionage from North Korea. You've also got fake cell phones. Now, Android is going to introduce fake cell phone detection in Android 16 because it's that big a problem. You think surely it's not that big an issue, but fake cell towers,
yeah.
What happens with those is that they'll still get you connected on the network so you don't notice it and you've got reception, happy days. But they're listening to all of that traffic that's going via that particular tower, and it's not encrypting the data, so you can pick it up, and that's how Android picks it up. It's unencrypted data, because if it's encrypted from handset to handset, then even that fake cell tower in the middle of that can't pick up that conversation. But in the middle, if you've got a cell tower that's not encrypting, you can just listen to every one of those conversations going through there, most of which is, have you fed the cat, darling?
Yeah.
But some of them would be...
Some of them is a little bit more than that.
And logically, you think...
Particularly if you've got the leaders of the Pentagon right now messaging various things on Signal app. Oh,
well,
dear.
and that's the thing, isn't it? You would logically put some of these fake cell towers near a place that you think might be some important people hanging around and might be looking for ways to do it. You've even got the concept of mobile towers. So when there's a major sporting event in a major festival, that type of thing, I know carriers in Australia will wheel up a trailer, put up an antenna, and they give you additional coverage because you've got so many people in a spot.
It's that easy.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to get coverage in there because suddenly a place that normally had 500 people has now got 10,000 people, so you need more cell coverage. So carriers wheel in these particular trailers, so you wouldn't think twice about, oh, there's another cell tower. Oh, good. That means that we're covered for this particular event, not knowing whether or not it's real or it's fake. So there's a few things happening with a whole range of things. You've got people stealing emails. One hacker said that they've got 100 gigs of emails from Trump's campaign. I don't know that it'd be that interesting to read through, but there might be some information there that maybe Trump could be held some ransomware, that type of thing. So it's scary out there. So, you've got all these spider attacks happening out there at the moment. It's pretty scary. I don't know how much you and I...
Spider attacks. Yeah, so, that's what we're calling this. Yeah.
We're calling this spider attacks. That's right. Why not? So,
well, it's like a spider infesting your house and casting its web everywhere.
And that's exactly right. It is getting everywhere.
Over the past decade, one thing that's been becoming more and more apparent is that for governments at all levels, while managing their economies is a priority, it cannot come at the exclusion of the welfare of the people. Governments must manage their economy for sure, but they must also manage the environment and, crucially, the people as well. And come election time, there commonly seems to be an inordinate focus on the economy and perhaps a lack of attention on the people. So, Matt, if there were some way to measure how happy the people are in real time, then that would surely be worth knowing.
Surveys go out. How do you feel about living in this particular community? And they get the data and collate it, and 6 months later they can say, yes, 78% of people in our community like being here in this community. Not quite what we expect in today's environment.
how reliable are those surveys too, I wonder.
That's right. So what some researchers at the University of Missouri have done is they've developed an AI sentiment map. Now, how do you chart happiness? How do you see how happy people are? Well, let's go to their social media posts. Why not? Social media posts are tagged with like a geotag, so you've got a location for those social media posts, and normally you can work out whether people are happy or sad or angry or whatever they might feel based on the language used in that. And that's pretty hard for you and I to go and look through some social media posts. But when we throw AI at the problem, we say, go and look at all the posts tagged in this particular area and tell me what the emotional tone of those posts is.
Wow.
So combining all that, they've then started to build with Google Street View an emotional sentiment or a sentiment map for various areas. So you're linking emotions to the physical areas. So you say, well, that's fascinating. People in Smith Street are really happy. People in Brown Street, they're not so happy. Why is that? So what are the surroundings? What are the physical surroundings?
Yeah,
And then you start to look at that further and start to get town planners, urban planners, to look at what's around there. Why are people in this street happier than another street? And I wonder where it was coming from, but at the University of Missouri, it was actually led by their architectural department, because they were trying to work out what makes people happy from an architectural point of view. What surroundings do you have for you to be happy?
So interesting.
I know in a council environment many years ago, I remember people there, some planners there, they love the word amenity. The word amenity was their go-to word. Why can't that person have a garage that's 3 metres tall on the fence there? It's legal with all the rules in place. It wouldn't suit the amenity of the area. And amenity seemed to mean whatever you wanted it to mean to suit your argument.
It's a universal term.
It's right, but there's no universal definition for exactly what it means. But it's a bit like the castle. It's the vibe.
Yeah, it's
amenity is the vibe. And
it's Marbo.
yeah, that's right. But it almost feels a bit like this, where it's kind of, let's look at that area. Are there parks nearby? Are there wider streets? What's significant around that area that makes people happier? Or is it just a couple of people on that street happen to be happy people and they post lots of stuff? I mean, there's all those different things in there, but I find it fascinating.
There used to be a game, SimCity, probably still exists, where you have to balance out all these different parts of, developing a city. Civilization's another computer game, and just managing people's happiness is a thing. And I found that really intriguing about trying to manage happiness in an area
we want a strong
on top
economy.
of everything else. You need a strong economy, a strong economy.
That's right. We want factories.
But that's got to be at the cost of everything else.
That's
right.
So. Yeah. We get rid of that park, we'll build a new factory because that'll have more jobs and better for the economy.
Yeah.
But what about somewhere to go and kick a ball with your kids on the weekend?
Yeah, exactly.
So all those things. So it is quite fascinating. So the whole concept here is that the architecture department at the University of Missouri is saying this is going to help them design cities to be more human-centric, more community-focused, rather than at the moment that seems to be very technical about the services that you need to provide in that particular city. So it's fascinating where we've come from, I suppose, a hard, fast planning perspective to looking at people's happiness using social media.
I think it's a wonderful concept.
Yeah.
And that's all we have today, folks. This party is done, and anyone still here in 2 minutes' time will be roped in for the clean-up. Thanks for another cracking tech talk, Matt.
Well, while we are on it seemed like a bit of a doomsday episode today, maybe I will consider that tattoo. I've just got to work out what I'm going to have on that tattoo. There's so many things I could think about.
Maybe a big sad face.
Maybe a big sad face, that's right. You want to have your wife and kids there, surely, but maybe not. Maybe you I don't know. There's too many things to think about.
Yeah,
I haven't got enough
that's
skin.
right.
Anyway, I've got to start thinking about that.
But make it big and make it across your whole back.
Or just across my face so everyone can see it.
Well, thank you very much, folks, for tuning into Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk is an easily digested intellectual snack loaded with goodness for growing big brains. So chow down, folks, and mind the crumbs. I'm your host, James Eddy, and as always, it's been a pleasure to bring you another episode this week, and we hope that you've enjoyed it too. We'll have another episode for you in another week's time, so until then, take care, and we'll see you when we see you.